we really got to think about when we're out there. You know, when we're out on a flat field, we notice the fence line is a little higher than the field. Is that from an erosion problem? Or is that a soil compaction problem? Are we losing the pore space in the soil and we're getting a little, almost like some silage going on? So what I want to do today is just do a couple quick demonstrations to kind of show some things that happen with soils that are healthy versus maybe soils that aren't quite as healthy. So to start with, actually I got my kit and there wasn't much in it. So I was a little concerned the other day, or yesterday I should say. And so I ran out and got some soil. And we have a no-till farmer in the southern part of the county. I know Peg really knows who that is. So I quickly ran and got some what I would think would be a good soil. It's a soil that was being no-tilled, he said, for over 10 years. He's doing a little strip tillage now. He uses kind of a diverse rotation: corn, soybeans, winter wheat. Isn't really using cover crops too much yet. He played with it a little bit. But you know, I pulled up a soil sample from his field, and what was really obvious right away is it was fairly dark. I'm going to pass this around. It's full of roots. If you pass it around, you can see there's a lot of wormholes in it. Just pass it around. And it has kind of a granular look to it. And actually, when you smell it, it actually smelled like earthy smell. It had a good earthy smell to it. And then I went across just across the way, and I found a farmer that we say, you know, you're kind of using conservation tillage. But I did notice he still had wormholes in some of his soil. Maybe not quite as many. The soil was a little lighter. And those are just some quick visual observations I made. So what I like to do now is I'd like to run what we call a slake test. And it kind of shows how stable are the aggregates out there. And it might answer some of those questions about, are our soils healthy? Do we have soils that can take water and run through it rather than run off? That kind of thing. So I'm going to need 2 volunteers. How about Kevin? And maybe, how about Bill? We have 2 people from our county committees here. And I'm going to just take, this is what I would consider maybe be more, not necessarily unhealthy, but maybe not quite as healthy. Okay? And what I'm going to do is have you take that one, and I'm going to get a sample out of this bag here. And I'll give that to Bill. And we'll have you guys drop these into our, what we call this, it's a cylinder from the discount store yesterday for $1 a piece. And just drop them in there. And we're going to watch them for about 5 minutes. Yeah, just put them in there, and we're going to see what happens. Now, over a 5-minute period, I think we're going to start seeing some visual changes here to the soils. You can see this one's starting to cloud up just a little bit. What's happening is the water's entering into the soil, and if there's not enough pore space or the aggregates aren't as stable, they're going to start falling apart a little bit more. So we see that happening just a little bit now. I don't know if you guys can see that. Mm-hmm. Now, so we have to ask ourselves, why is that happening? What is really going on here? If you've got a healthy soil, there's some really important things that are going on in there. A black soil is going to shows that there's more organic matter there, right? There's a correlation between the color of the soil. Okay, what causes one soil to stick together a little bit? Some of you guys that are farming probably notice they're kind of granular, they hold together a little better. It's actually, it's the soil biology that's going on. A healthy soil is a live soil. In fact, they say in a teaspoon of soil, it can be as many microbes in that little teaspoon that there is people in the world. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on there. And that area next to the roots, we call the rhizosphere, because that's the area where all this microbial action is taking place. There's interaction between the roots and the microbes that are in the soil. And what happens is with that activity that's going on in the soil, they actually form like a glue. They kind of glue the soils together in little aggregates. So we ask ourselves, why doesn't that have the same maybe aggregation? Brian, how about, can you help me out with there? What does tillage do to the aggregates?
Breaks them off.
Yeah, so it kind of breaks the soil structure, so there's a disturbance. That disturbance does affect some of the aggregation and some of the structure of the soil. So what's going to happen, well, if you just shake that shit, you can see that which soil is going to make our legs a little dirtier. Maybe
The one closest to me.
But, okay, which soil is going to have is it going to have a crusting problem later on or not? Because the soil particles are starting to break down. And actually, the first thing that happens when it starts to rain is not usually erosion. Usually the raindrops will actually start to dissipate the soil particles. You'll get them plugging up the pore spaces, and then that's what causes that little compaction problem in the soil later on.
Did you use the word crusting?
There's a relationship to crusting.
Crusting.
Yeah,
okay.
Crusting. So those are some of the things that we often do. We do tillage to break the crusting, but sometimes we find out that additional tillage actually has kind of a negative reverse effect. So when we're talking about resource concerns, we talk about erosion as a resource concern, water quality, but is it maybe a soil quality problem that we have to be thinking about? So, and I didn't time this, I don't know if anybody else did, but over time this thing will eventually just dissipate. But you can see how it's, the other thing to be thinking about is when we have that detachment of soil particles, we're also losing some of our nutrients and some of that kind of value that we have in the soil as well. I don't know, any questions on what I just showed you so far? This is what we call aggregate or stability soil that's been tilled more often. This is from a farmer up in Palmyra. I just got that yesterday, had a little, I think I did okay pulling it out. Usually I like to run the demonstration a few more times, but I didn't have a chance to really do that. So I'm gonna need a couple volunteers here. How about Jimmy? You want to volunteer? And,
Guaranteed fag,
and let's see, who else we want to get up here? How about Brian? Okay, I'm going to have you pour the water into at the same time into the thing. Now this one, again, the farmer had been using no-till for at least 10 years, he said. He's starting to use some cover crops. I don't know, he said he's had some mixed results, but he's using some cover crops. One thing I did notice when any one of these no-till guys that I looked at, I pull residue away a little bit, you can see wormholes in the ground. I'm sure you guys at farm and stuff, you see that when you look in your own fields. And you don't see as many in the other one, I can just tell you that. So let's run the demonstration here.
Okay, we'll make it rain this
Just
thing.
let it rain.
Make it rain.
Put the whole bottle in there, let it rain hard. So we're gonna.
That's crazy.
Again, this is a no-till field that had some cover crops. Actually, when I basically just pressed this into the soil, when I pulled it out, you can see it was just pitted with wormholes underneath. So what do we get over here? Okay, so this might ask, okay, we got the more runoff, more sediment coming off this field, obviously. This field is a lot cleaner. And actually, if you look, we have a little bit more water that ran through the profile on the no-till as well.
Yes.
So, we used to think it was just a direct relationship by the amount of cover on the soil surface, but we realize there's more going on in that profile than what we used to think. And that's why soil health has become a really important thing in what we're considering with NRCS and all. In fact, you see it in the farm papers and stuff. People are interested in cover crops. There's a lot more resurgence to some of the things that are trying to make our soil healthy. So that's all I really had. We've got any questions?